So the topic today is on art, but also I have to cover some ideas around the path. So I'll be talking about like the 5 paths, and maybe it'll either be a jumble talk or you'll get 2 or 3 talks in one, something like that. Sometimes people record their dreams. I ask them to record their dreams sometimes and write them down, or and then look at them 6 months later, a year later, or maybe just later, because sometimes by 6 months, at least a year, people have forgotten they've had the dream. But there's your handwriting. So it's interesting exercise, because when we have the dream, we wake up to the dream, and that, then we have this real sense of like, I had this dream. So if it involves people we know, yes, you may. Doesn't work with glasses on, does it? No, now I'm eating it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Working too much, too little. Even the Dalai Lama has to obey the tech person. You get these people get these fantasies that we're in complete control, and then oh, I want people to have the experience of having the dream and feeling like I had this dream and all the kind of resonance that goes with it, and then to read it later and go, there's no resonance there, but you had it. So that's a similar process with Tantric or Dharma art. You have the experience of that's my creation, it's mine, and then you have the experience of I don't remember doing that one. Maybe like that, or it's not ours anymore, or something like that. So in our tradition, we want to take the middle way. So it's interesting. We want to have that experience of it's ours and it's not ours. I don't know about the mothers here, but I'm sure as kids have gotten older, there's a sense of, well, he or she's mine, but not mine, right? Should we ask the mother in the back there? Like, yeah, I was saying that we want to be in that middle. So it's ours and it's not ours. We created it, and we also, like, an interesting way, disown it. So we're in that balance between we did it and we didn't do it. We created it and we didn't create it. Something like that. traditionally, like Dharma art's not meant to be like sold, you know, but you're supposed to have a direct relationship with the artist and commission it. Nowadays, we can't do that so much because there's not many artists here, but we've done a little bit of that, haven't we? So this artwork by Phoenix and other artists here, and I enjoy that. So when someone donates their piece of art to Lion Sword, it's kind of you know yours and not yours, right? I had one artist though take your work back. That was kind of interesting. But now I'm taking back, and um, you generally wouldn't do that. Uh, yeah, so it's I guess maybe that's the feeling when artists sell the art, like it's mine or it's not mine. But we want to have that experience where we're in the middle, like that. So the creativity. Now I just died for a second. I don't know. Okay, good. Look, we know Elon's listening in, right? Maybe he'll get something. It's like, okay, great, you can listen in. Like so because the art is in the middle, it's seen as alive. Okay, so it's not like in a museum or something. Maybe it is alive in the museum, but here it's definitely alive. So the artwork gets consecrated, and that means that in a sense that the Buddha is living there. That's a little bit literal, but that's the traditional way of thinking. So the art becomes sacred because it's alive. Of course, sometimes, thangkas fall apart, and things that are alive also fall apart, like us, right? So the idea is, of course, the nirmanakaya body, this one, and the artwork body are very similar. So that's why we have a really nice temple space, because people taking care of the temple and the garden, they realize that that's my body and not my body. It's a shared body. It's interesting. It's the same as this. So when teachers come, they do enjoy coming here because there's an energy generated when art and the architecture and that mandala is alive, don't you think? So it's a little different than just talking about the iconography, which is important, and the art does also have like practice meanings in that way. You could say so. Like two arms means this, and four arms mean this, and this color means this, and so there is also that too. Um, but primarily the experience is it's alive and we don't own it, right? Which is the way we should look at the world. We're taking care, but and it's alive, and we don't own it. Some billionaires own it, right? No, so that was the list in Forbes of like all the billionaires. Like anybody read that list? It's like yeah. So like and I touched on that world, so my sister used to live just down the street from Philip Anschutz, you know, super billionaire. Like, you know, like I can't remember was his wife, like Judy, my sister was saying, yeah, I was like, she came wondering if some of her mail was just, you know, misdelivered to our house. You know, I was going, that's funny. Like you'd think they'd have all that figured out because they're billionaires. But it just shows that, you know, it's the same. You know, it's like it's funny, like walking around that neighborhood. They've moved to a condo now, but who's the guy that said now you have a friend in the diamond business? Yeah, so you know, so I hear that thing for years, and then I'm just taking a walk after dinner with my sister, and like, there's this house, which is this palatial French chateau in the Denver Polo Grounds. It was just so weird. But a characteristic is uh, of ownership is very strong when you have that amount of money. Don't you agree? But even when we're just kind of us, we still feel we own it, you know. So when the stock prices go down because of the idiot, then you know, it's like we feel we've lost something. You know, we have in a way, right? But I have to remind myself, you know, well, do we ever really own that? You know, do you ever really own stock? I mean, it's like paper. It's weird. So um, approaching things from an artistic point of view, particularly from that middle way, like uh, we own it and we don't own it, helps things really be alive for us, and to also help it when things die, right? So, of course, many of the temples in Tibet, almost all of them were destroyed during the Cultural Revolution, but you know, then they've sprung up all over the place. Like here, you know, it's interesting because there's this feeling of uh, ownership and not ownership, and that keeps it alive. So does that make a little bit of sense? There's a lot to say about art, of course. You know, there's artists here in the audience, you know, so I don't presume. But from Dharma point of view, the by having this participating in the aliveness with the art, um, uh, it becomes a totally different experience than I'm here and the creativity of the work of art is there. We're all right in the middle of it, like that. I do like billionaires if they're nice art collectors, and but nowadays nobody, you know, nobody like uh, you know, nobody funds libraries, you know. So at least Andrew Carnegie, who was probably the billionaire of the time, at least did libraries, don't you think? I mean, that's useful. And then you have Carnegie Hall, right? So I have to get, oh, it's in a little political stuff. So it's our world, right? We have to honor that. The five paths uh, are an important way that we talk about um, our journey. So I talked a little bit about it before here and then at retreat, but is it okay if I go over them again? You don't want to hear more about art, right? Because we have someone doing a Dharma talk on art here pretty soon, isn't that right? Do you want to just say when it is? Ooh, ooh, good. And when are you going to give that talk? Okay. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so we. Okay, good, good. Yeah. Never feels good to be bumped, but I mean, it was for a good purpose, like that. Okay, good. Does anybody have a question or comment about the art thing before I talk about the 5 paths? I love it. Or else we have something that happens the last Friday of every month called Expressions, where the motto or the saying is art saves lives, right? So invite people that have never been to come. It is a little bit amateur hour, but actually some people, some of the artists are actually making their livelihood in art, right? So there's an incredible amount of talent just here in the Sangha. And people share their with each other. So artists are in the audience and then they perform this, get in the audience again, and then they can comment on it. And for me, it's a totally tantric experience. So for those who show up to expressions, you can say, I'm doing a little bit of tantra. How's that? So the 5 paths uh, start with the path of what's called, so translated accumulation, Sambara Marga. And I'd like to give a contemporary way of thinking about them. Usually it's called accumulation of what you need or accumulation of merit or something. Um, it's starting with community. That's the hardest part, generally for Americans. So we weren't born into this community, most of us. So it's intentional and it's not usually cultural, but to really engage in the full path, the main preparation is to think community, not solo practitioner. Or else as part of community, we're still confused and fight and do stupid shit. But the primary first step is to go, I'm thinking from a community point of view. We say joining or becoming member, but it's a point of view. It's so difficult in modern society because we're so individualized and we generally don't think we depend upon each other very much. But actually, emotionally, we do, even if we don't financially. So doing gardening together, doing projects, doing events is absolutely essential. Otherwise, we'd just be reading or watching things on YouTube, right? We'd, all the courses would be online, right? Like, why get together? Why do you need, this whole building and stuff like that? It's, for art in the big way, it's community. So we could say the artistic community. I mean, it's kind of I don't know if they have the motto anymore for Metro Golden Mayor, Ars Gratia Artis. Any Latin people here? Art for the sake of art. Yeah. Art for the sake of art. Yeah. I don't know if MGMO has fulfilled that because they wanted to make money too. Those the billionaires, but yeah. So an artistic community, not a creative community, loving community is the fundamental path of accumulation like that. So that's why we have a membership committee, and we have entering the path and refuge, and it's not as much like taking certain vows as like going to work with people and create something together, not just totally solo, right? Willing to co-create the universe like that. It's in the middle. So, that making sense? It's very difficult because, sometimes people act badly, and then I got to do stuff, and then they're jerks, and I got to do stuff, or then money disappears magically or appears magically. So all kinds of things happen, but the primary thing is community. And I do want to say we're doing it. Actually, we're really doing it. The second path is called Prayoga Marga. That's the path of engagement or joining. And that also is something that we here in Sacramento generally have to like kind of create out of nothing, which is creating a mythical world, a shared vision like that. That is a big part still in Asia and in other countries. Maybe the closest thing, like years ago, I used to go to like Celtic and Scottish festivals. Anybody go to the one in Grass Valley this year? Yeah. Okay. So, that's it's kind of playing because we're not in Scotland or something, but you get to wear your kilt and bagpipe it and stuff. So there's an interesting, you know, something there, right? Or other kind of cultural events. But here we have to create the culture, the mythic structure that kind of holds us together. In Europe, they still have tons of festivals. They still do tons of things together. And the only thing I think that we kind of do together, where people actually dress up and do something cultural, is Halloween. It's like parades kind of count. The parades kind of count, but pardon me? Rodeo is kind of a culture. That's yes. Charlotte. Okay, 1 point for Charlotte. Yeah, so that is a culture, the rodeo culture. Yeah, well, you just, there's a myth, and there's camaraderie, and there's craziness, and people get hurt, and but everything, it's still like it has a cultural feel. I don't know. Like, so we're not a sports team. We're not a religion, and really, in that kind of really classical sense. We're not psychotherapy. We're worship some nature with moon creatures. I mean, so we have to build. We're building a mythic structure here, like that. So it isn't just community. It's also this shared values, but this kind of this dreamy structure, something like that. There is snobby billionaire culture. So, and that the snobby billionaire culture is like, yeah, I just got back from, Tahiti, and it was great. And I'm sorry, I like to travel, but I've never been to Tahiti, so maybe I'm jealous. But there's a certain culture of, we call it a God realm, when people have unlimited resources, right? That world. Once in a while, you might feel like you join that world, but we really don't. Yeah, that's what we call a God realm, right? Just things seem effortless. You're able to buy your way out of everything, and what, like you have the best hospital treatment. You can go to the Mayo Clinic and have a private room and your own private doctor and all these things. So we're not building a God realm culture, right? So when we're working on the path of engagement, uh, we're trying to build something that will take some time, but I think we're on our way. What do you think? Dirk? All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I never thought of the path of accumulation as being a gathering like that, but it's in Tibetan, it's Soklam, just like the tsok. So it's a tsok. It's a big tsok.
Yeah, that's culture. I mean, if we're all, I mean, one way, thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. Lama meets path, of course, so food's a culture thing. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's, like primarily a culture thing. So people define themselves a lot of times by food. Of course, we're omnivorous. We do everything in California, but it's that kind of thing. There's a glue that you get people to eat together, and and they just talk about food all the time. That's a culture. Yes. Mm.
Thank you. This path of engagement and joining,
Mm-hmm.
how does that relate to the path of preparation, which is what I have heard it called also, the second?
Yeah, I don't think that's as good a
Preparation for what?
yeah, I don't think that's as good a translation. So it's a gathering, joining, you're engaged with each other, like doing a soak offering like that. Yeah. But it has, yeah, I don't know who's translating as preparation anymore. Yeah, prayoga, I have, like we'd have to talk to the Sanskrit scholar, like what happens when you say pra in front of yoga, and but it's a gathering rather. So maybe the Tibetan's a little bit more like what the Sanskrit actually means. So sometimes I think that Durkha would know, but sometimes I think that Tibetans, because they were translating the Sanskrit way back then, they got more to the heart of the Sanskrit than we might even see it right now. But that's just a conjecture. Anyway, so the next path is Darshan Marga. You should be familiar with their darshan, seeing. This is the actual. You've got to do all these different yogas. You've got to do the training. Like the structure. You've got to do like entering the path and refuge and do these prayers and do these yogas, do these meditations and learn this and do these mudras and do all the technical stuff like that, all the structured stuff, including tantra. That's the seeing. See, you got to do everything like that. See, just like that. This is what's in front of you. See those books? You got to read them. See that book on Abhidharma Kosha with its commentary? Do you see it? Yes, that's the right book. Yeah, hold it up. So I'm giving my own interpretation of this, so it's alive for you instead of just a taxonomy or something. So when we lay it out here, then people finally go, oh, I see. I need to do all this. It's kind of like maybe, at some point the billionaires spend, $200,000 so they can climb Mount Everest, which I think costs more now, but maybe $500,000. So, they get to the lodge and then they have special Sherpas and everything. But probably at some point, even the billionaires with Sherpas, their legs are getting tired, because they're saying, well, we still have to cross the crevasse or field or whatever it is. And then I'm sure one of the Sherpas will say, see, I told you. See, that's what I mean by seeing. We're finally clicks in our heads like, oh, I see. This is what it's really like to be blah, blah. It's like, I see, I can't say I see it. I see what it's like to be a mom. I can't say that. But at some point, you go, oh, I see. It's like that. So the something clicks, right? You see it like, oh, I see what I have to do, or I see what eating octopus sushi is like, or something. So he says, you ought to try this. Try uni. Go, okay. I think it's sea urchin or something. And they go, I see. It's like the problem is I can't eat, what is the fried octopus, those little things? I can't eat it after watching the octopus movie. What's the name of what is it called? Calamari squid or something. But I don't know. They're close. I don't know, but I definitely can't eat octopus. I'm just thinking this is, it's just funny. And then I go, I see. Okay. So we see it, we see something, and then that leads us to Bhavana Marga, the path of meditation or cultivation. You've seen it. You've seen it. But just because we've had a glimpse doesn't mean that it's all over. So we have to, as I said, it's the meditation session that earlier. We have to continue to keep the fresh mind. We have to work to keep it fresh. So that's actually, the path of like Mahamudra and Dzogchen, completely real fresh world. So when we say path of meditation, Bhavana Marga, we're not talking about, this shamatha vipassana or stress reduction or something like that. We're talking about you've seen something, and now you're really engaged with it. You're really cultivating it, and you're not losing sight of it like that. It's difficult, right? But because we've done the accumulation, we've community, we have friends, we have helpers, we have teachers, we've developed a creative mythic world that holds it, and we're doing a discipline. We're doing our scales, because that's important. That's all the prescribed practices, or like scales, or like a workout. Does anybody like going to the gym and doing a workout? That's good. I still have to kind of make myself do it. What is that? I don't have any trouble like doing the Dharma practice. I think that's great. I get to do this again. But so I'm still working on that. I'm just telling you, it's like I see it, I see like, okay, it's really good. It feels so good when I work out, and and then I go, I need to do this every day. I don't, but I'm working on it. So then finally, then path of no more learning. So this is actually, we sometimes say like Buddhahood, but that can sound kind of abstract. So I've sometimes said it's the path of, no one knows who we are. So my American con that sometimes I would tease people with is, what if you got enlightened, like completely, and no one noticed? Especially your friends and family. Like you go, well, you look pretty much the same to me. You spent all this money and you did all this education and you're still Steve. You know what? Like that. But that's enormously important. Enormously important. Um, the other aspect of no more learning is like we're willing to do anything. So, I learned so much from, my close teachers. Told the group many times, like, when Geshe Gyatso was coming, like, he'd be vacuuming, just, or making lunch. It wasn't just, just doing what needed to be done, right? Have him over for the house. I'd be working. He'd stay over. He was kind of a neatnik, but he was straightening out, just whatever needed to be done. He wasn't thinking, well, Geshe La Rampa, this da 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 Tolku person, I'm just doing the dishes, literally, right? Just whatever you need. So, but of course, there's, with no more learning, there's just spontaneous compassion like that. So that's difficult sometimes. So even no more learning could say we might have to like push ourselves a little bit. So that's kind of interesting. So even in no more learning, the Buddha's the compassion is spontaneous, but the personal world has to also be pushed. So this my final piece is that when we no more learning doesn't mean the personal self drops away and it doesn't have to learn anymore. We always still have our personal, narration, our personal world. It's just that takes its proper place. So that part you still need to learn. The Buddha world, you've seen like, oh, the Buddha world is spontaneous. It's not, doesn't have a will. Okay? Dharmakaya doesn't, and sambhogakaya doesn't have a will. They're not thinking like, I have to do this. But the personal self, which Buddhists have still like, well, I got to do this. Does that sound contradictory? Yeah, good. Because that's the way it is. Yeah. The personal self takes its place. It's not seen as the center. It's not seen as absolute. It's not seen as an Atman. But it is alive and well. We want a strong, you actually want a strong personal self that's in harmony with our Buddha nature, right? So, when people are trying to destroy their personal preferences or have a nihilistic view, like, then I'm really sad. So sometimes I don't like to use the word no self because then people become nihilists, right? So I like to say no misperceived self, something like that, like that. But we know the historical Buddha had personal preferences, right? Yes, no, yes. So I have personal preferences. All the teachers I've ever known have personal preferences. But that's personal. So then we also know that the Buddha world is completely unowned and in the middle and doesn't have a personal preference. So the Buddha world could like, like one of my teachers said, like, if this is important, if you want to stay in the Buddha world all the time and not have a personal world of preferences, the dog shit's here and the yogurt's here. It doesn't matter to you. But you can't stay in the Buddha world as long as you're in this personal body, right? Exclusively. So like joke, like after the Yamantaka empowerment with Dalai Lama in Long Beach years ago, it was long and Deb was there. So like I don't every guy I knew, like he just made a beeline for the restroom. I wish I'd had a mobile phone then, because like, or didn't have robes. I just like, okay, so you're in the Buddha land with Dalai Lama for 3 hours, but then, right? So it's like that. Mhm. Take a few questions and then maybe we can end a little early today. Bye.
Thank you, Lama. These are like really helpful and
Mm.
like so totally different than what you get out of the texts, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, this is great. Thank you. On the path of no more learning, can you relate how the path of meditation, I mean, don't you go back and forth?
I think that's a good question. Usually, it isn't, like stair steps sequential. It's more like a labyrinth feel, like you're going to get glimpses, of like, oh, that's what it feels like to be completely present, and there's nothing outside of this experience that we need to know. No more learning. But then we don't stay there. Yeah. So, or
The path of meditation, then if you're able to do Mahamudra, Dzogchen to a degree, can that enhance and enliven and increase your ability to be at that path of no more learning?
they can work kind of, they do work many actually, yeah. So it's just the interesting part is you have to get some kind of mastery before even the next step suggests itself or has some credibility. But usually we're just like kids because we are developmentally. We start trying things before we're kind of ready. And actually, in a way, we need to kind of sometimes jump the gun a little bit. But what makes it like not falling on our face is we have the community and we have teachers. So in a way, we're dipping our toe into something that's a little too fast moving, but we're getting a sense of it. So we're prepared for it, not prepared for it at the same time. So that's why we can't do it solo, because we do kind of jump around, even though it is somewhat sequential. Yeah, we get a taste of it, but without some guidance, it ends up being like Mickey Mouse and the Sorcerer's Apprentice, or Mickey. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Yay.
I got a little bit lost in
Hmm.
number 4, and it sort of blended with number 5. And
Okay.
I did guess that it kind of just for me.
No, no more learning is where um, uh, that we're completely awake to both the personal world and the Buddha world. They're in harmony. Yeah.
Buddha world.
Pardon me. That
Um,
is 5.
oh,
That's 5. Yeah.
path of no more learning, admitting not knowing, but displaying.
No, that's 5.
That's 5.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah. I don't know. This is what happens. You just gotta skip. I'm like, wait a minute, I left my wallet in the restaurant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Number 4 is we see things as they are. We get the glimpse, and we have to cultivate that. It just takes cultivation. Yeah. Okay. Okay, meet with me after class. Yeah. 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 Well, I'll meet with you after class. Yeah. So I've asked a few people to help out, a few extra people to help out with what I call Dzhi Kasung. So I'm Bill sitting here, and actually Patty left to pick someone up, but for Khangser Rinpoche, I always like to have and we're stepping it up. So there's like 5 people, 5 Buddha families. So Jen's sitting down and Patty's sitting down, and then Ellen sitting up, and then Matthew in the back, you see. So the Dzhi Kasung is something I inherited from Trungpa Rinpoche, and it's a good idea because the Dzhi Kasung are meditating on the vibes of the group. They're the gatekeepers, and they're noticing, like, how's everyone doing, like that, which is absolutely essential in groups, because we're just going by ourselves, we tend to just get absorbed in what's going on, and we may not see if people need to be let in or let out, or helped or not helped, so it's important, even with a small sangha like this, to have folks that are paying attention to what we call the whole mandala experience, like that. So the Dzhi Kasung rule doesn't mean that these folks are any more advanced than anybody else. In fact, they're idiots. But sorry, just have to be honest. We should be saying, we have to keep kind of realistic. Like, we should, like, technically, you see a great teacher, how's it going? You say, well, I'm an idiot, but I'm a devotee of and a follower of Shakyamuni, so that's important. So even after, like, realization of Buddhahood, so full Buddhahood, like I'm saying, is not just the Buddha land, it's the Buddha plus the personal world, right? So from that standpoint, for the absolute Buddha, dharmakaya, there's no personal. But when you add the sambhogakaya and nirmanakaya, where you've got the interpersonal and you've got the actual personal, right? Those 3 bodies. So do teachers who are awakened make mistakes? Yes, have to, big time, right? So the full thing is always the 3 bodies. The dharmakaya is completely the dharma body. So that would be like there's no one there. There are sambhogakaya is a creative, interrelated world, right? That we can express through art and poetry and sound and so forth, feelings. And then nirmanakaya were definitely like, I got to go to the bathroom after this, right? So all three together, then that's the full thing, right? Integrated. So of course. So we always have to like be thinking, am I having this responsibility, but I'm still a complete idiot from time to time, correct? It's very important. So I thank Dzhi Kasung for their service today and ongoing service. We've actually, in the past, some of the Dzhi Kasung who aren't here today actually, intervene when someone tried to assault me, and they've helped with, organizing the thing and help keep the place safe. So there's a sense where we're creating this electric environment, so it needs people to monitor, I kind of know in nuclear power substations, you still have to kind of watch the dials, right? Yeah. So that's it. If we're just solo, we can just think, I'm just paying attention to my own mind stream and, da 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 da. But if you're taking a role like the protector practice, then you can't just be thinking about your own mind stream. So next week, we'll be doing some protector initiations with Khangser Rinpoche, right? So Palden Lhamo, is that on Saturday or is that Sunday? So Mahakala is on, Saturday at 11. In person only. They're both in person only. Yeah. So Vivi, say a little bit about protector practice. So these are fierce presentations of Buddha nature. They're actually designed to make us even more calm, not agitated or scared. They're designed to be more calm. Why? Because they have tons of energy, right? Even peaceful has tons of energy. There's really no difference essentially, but like when you're all prepared for something, whether it's a test or a drive or whatever you're doing, then you're protected, right? Because you're prepared. So if somebody says, oh, are you going to San Francisco? And you go, yeah, I got a full tank of gas, a clean windshield, and yeah, good to go. So, you're protecting, right? So misunderstanding protector practice would be like you're trying to like be aggressive with someone or something like that. They're meant to like gives us that kind of calm confidence. Like I can go to San Francisco on my own, or I could do a full retreat, or I could do a solo retreat on my own. It'd be difficult, but like that. So that kind of protective confidence, and then you also know that the protector practice is part of community. So like you can feel like someone would come to protect, right? So like Lauren, if I needed protection and you were near me, you'd protect me, right? Yeah, it's just like that. So we don't want to make it too like weird, but it's nice to have these archetypal energized art images in a way that embody this kind of energy. It helps. That's Vajrayana. So it'll just be interesting what happens, but I'd like to, you know, emphasize that everyone is invited, and it's it's an important part of Vajrayana to feel that protective energy, not only for ourselves, but for others, right? So Sangha members protect each other from being idiots or from idiots or, you know, from our own idiocy, right? Like that. Okay. Palden Lhamo is particularly interesting, you know, because he's working with, you know, that the jealousy and the rage, and Mahakala is particularly interesting because Mahakala is working with the confusion around idiot compassion. We've all been really idiots from time to time, and some idiot compassion things. So Mahakala protects us so that our compassion is like, you know, very direct but useful, right? Okay, so we should close here because we're at the end of our time. Looking forward to next week. Yes.
Dedication. Due to
Due
the
to
merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. May the teachings of the Buddha flourish, and may the upholders of the teachings remain forever. May all migrators achieve happiness, and may they fulfill all their temporary and ultimate goals. Losong, magical display of the deep awareness of all the victorious ones, merciful giver of a stream of profound and vast instructions to the fortunate migrators, please remain always unperishing, unchanging, unfading. Avalokiteshvara, great treasure of obtuse compassion, Manjushri, master of flawless wisdom, Vajrapani, destroyer of the entire host of Maras, Sankapa, crown jewel of the snowy land sages, Losong Dragpa, I make requests at your holy feet.
Announcements.
We have the community meeting. This is the community meeting. Well, we're gonna eat. We're gonna eat. That's
We're gonna eat.
We're gonna eat. That's the first announcement. And then there's Kala Chakra, and then there is the membership committee. And Connor has something.
We have this great little device that you can make donations with your credit card, debit card. We even take Discover. Just so you know that this will be available next weekend as well when Khangser Rinpoche is here to make donations. There's also the donation box over at the side, and we are still collecting coins. We have a lot of coins, but the more coins we get, the sooner we can get some new tech equipment. But please, you know, keep that in mind. And also, I do have a request. I need some strong people who are willing to haul a few things right after service. That'd be great. Thanks.
How far are they hauling things? Okay, from the shed to here, so it's not terrible. Other announcements?
So as you know, last year we had a really good turnout with Pride, and this year we're looking to have a bigger and better one. But some of the Sangha members had an idea to put meditation mats out there and bring people in to practice some of that at Pride. So that should be great. And there's some pictures and a sign up in where the library is, so you can see that. And then also in the newsletter, Patty and Jen put that together. It looks really great. So please take a moment. The hyperlink to sign up is there, but you can also sign up near the library as well. And it's going to be June 14th, 14th, 14, 15. Yeah. Yep. All right. Any other questions about that? Okay. Yes. Yeah. If you're able to donate anything, please do. Every little bit helps. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Should we talk to him? We should get, all right. I said Kala Chakra, I promise.
I think it'd be nice to have like a pride flag on our flagpole for that month. We don't accept any federal funds and won't, so we can have some, we can still say we have some DEI, values, right? Yes.
Do we, I just know from getting the flag raised at CDE, do we have a secondary set of the hanging weights? We do? We have a secondary set of those? Okay, so we could do it.
Pride is kind of like a little bit of its own kind of culture, isn't it? I mean, it is, it's kind of like, yeah, it's got legs. It's interesting, some things, so it's, that it has that, that's what we're looking for, that kind of bonding, something like that. So I'm really glad we're doing it again this year. Okay, music, if you have music.
Omo.